Good day, everyone. Glad you could join us today in our webinar. This is 3B Presents Crafting the Curriculum. My name is Christine, and I'll be your host today. We have a lot in store for you this session. It will surely be a day packed with knowledge and exciting discussions. Let us begin our webinar with a prayer that will be led by Zam.
Thank you. Okay. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord God, thank you for this day. We come to you asking for your guidance, wisdom, support as we start this webinar. Please, Lord God, guide us, every each of us. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Our web seminar for today is all about the process of crafting the curriculum, and we are joined today by several esteemed guest speakers who will be taking turns in explaining the nitty-gritty details of curriculum crafting. Are you ready for our first speaker?
Yes.
Very well. Let me introduce our first speaker. He is charismatic, a former editor-in-chief of a college publication in Manila. He was also a former quality assurance supervisor of a call center company based in Manila, a current third-year English major student of Pambayang Kolehiyo ng Mauban. Let's welcome Mr. Frank Lawrence Humarang.
Thank you so much for that, Miss Christine. And as what she mentioned, guys, this would be um, 3 lessons actually about crafting the curriculum, and I'll be in charge of divulging the information with you for the first lesson. So let's start. Let me just pull up my presentation. Okay, so Chapter 2, Crafting the Curriculum. Lesson 1 would be Fundamentals and Curriculum Designing. Let me give you an overview. This is a curriculum is a planned sequence of learning experiences should be at the heart and mind of every teacher. Every teacher as a curricularist should be involved in designing a curriculum. Designing a curriculum is a very challenging task, and we all know about that. It is where the style and the creativity of the teacher comes in. Now, let's build on Peter Oliva's 10 axioms for curriculum designers. Every curriculum designer, implementer, or evaluator should take in mind the following general axioms as a guide in curriculum development. Number 1, curriculum change is inevitable, necessary, and desirable. When you say inevitable, it means we cannot avoid it. Necessary, it means we need it. And desirable means that it is good or beneficial. Societal development and knowledge revolution comes so fast that the need to address the changing condition requires new curriculum designs. So this definition is only means that curriculum change will always be there because as times changes, the needs of the students, of the teachers, of the administration changes with the times as well. So this is why it says that change in the curriculum is necessary. Number 2, curriculum is a product of its time. This is also called timeliness. It's a bit connected to number 1 since most of our curriculum actually built themselves upon the past curriculums. So it's a product of the time of all of like the first curriculums until the second ones. Then it built up upon those curriculums and theories. So that's why it's a product of its time. Now, number 3, moving on, would be curriculum changes made earlier can exist concurrently with newer curriculum changes. Now, this is an important part of crafting the curriculum. It doesn't mean that the curriculum has changed, that everything should be changed. No, it does not. Sometimes curriculums can exist with newer parts of it and some retained parts from the older curriculum. So that's what number three means. Number four, curriculum change depends on people who will implement the change. This will ensure an effective and long-lasting change. Now, when we say that the curriculum change should be handled by the implementer of the curriculum itself, is because it would largely depend upon the implementer to change what is needed on the curriculum, because they are the ones who are experiencing the curriculum firsthand. So that's why it is needed that the curriculum change depend on them, because they know what to do since they experience it firsthand. Number five would be curriculum development is a cooperative group activity. Now, when I said earlier that it would largely depend upon the implementers, it's actually a cooperative group activity, because a curriculum cannot be created solely by a teacher, though a teacher is a very important part of the curriculum. However, it really depends upon the researchers on what the curriculum parts of the curriculum will be changed, if it's socially applicable in our context today. So there's a lot going on about the curriculum. That's why it needs everyone's help, or it's like a group activity, as what number five says. Number six, curriculum development is a decision-making process made from choices of alternatives. So this one is interesting because a curriculum developer or designer must decide what contents to teach and what type of evaluation to use. Now, when we say that the decision-making process is made from choices of alternatives, a curriculum is made uh, whenever there is a need for change, right? Now, when we say change, we also gauge what alternatives we can do if ever this current curriculum is not working for us. So it needs to be evaluated so that it can be changed. Now, evaluated on what parts of the curriculum is working or what parts of it doesn't. So it needs to be evaluated for it to be changed. Number seven, curriculum development is an ongoing process. As the needs of learners change, as society changes, and as new knowledge and technology appear, the curriculum must also change. This is connected to number one, if you remember earlier, that the changes of the learners change with time. Not only the learners, but the teachers, the teaching strategies, and the administration, and all of the other ones involved in the teaching learning experience, all of their changes, all of their needs change. That's why curriculum development is an ongoing process, because it assesses what needs to be changed, what needs should be catered. Okay, so number eight, curriculum development is more effective if it is a comprehensive process rather than a piecemeal. So when we say piecemeal, it's just a part of uh, the whole. Okay, so it would be okay or better if the development of the curriculum is comprehensive. It should be designed carefully, planned carefully. Number nine, curriculum development is more effective when it follows a systematic process. This is in turn connected as well with number eight, since it should be planned systematically. And the curriculum design is composed of desired outcomes and evaluation procedure, which can be placed in a matrix. So again, it should be evaluated properly, it should be planned properly. So we can base it on whatever our desired outcomes is for the curriculum itself. Number 10, curriculum development starts from where the curriculum is. This is what I've told you earlier, that old curriculums can coexist with newer curriculums, because newer curriculums are only changed or are only based upon the older ones. It's only tweaked or changed to suit the current needs of the ones involved in the teaching learning process. Okay, so let us take the lesson plan as a minuscule curriculum. A lesson plan or teaching guide includes intended learning outcomes, or ILOs, desired learning outcomes, or DLOs, which are labeled formerly as behavioral objectives, subject matter content, teaching and learning methods, assessment and evaluation. Each of these components I will be explaining today. Behavioral objectives or intended learning outcomes begin with the end in view. Now, this is very important. When we start trying to craft a curriculum or design a curriculum, we need to check on the outcomes, on what outcomes do we need it for. Okay? So what are we trying to do? What are we trying to accomplish? That should be the first thing on our mind whenever we want to design a curriculum. Content or subject matter. Number one, the content of the lesson or unit is the topic or subject matter that will be covered. In selecting content, you should bear in mind the following principles in addition to those mentioned about the content in previous lessons. Subject matter should be relevant to the outcomes of the curriculum. That's one. Number two, subject matter should be appropriate to the level of lesson or unit. Now, the references. The reference follows the content. It tells where the content or subject matter has been taken. The reference may be a book, a module, or a publication. It must always bear the author of the material and, if possible, the publications who published the reference material. Teaching and learning methods. These are activities where the learners derive experiences. It is always good to keep in mind the teaching strategies that students will experience. Let's say lectures, laboratory classes, field works, etc. to make them learn. Okay? Cooperative learning. These are the types of learning. We have cooperative learning. Activities allow students to work together. And independent learning, which are activities that allows learners to develop personal responsibility. So you see the difference between them. Cooperative is done in groups, and independent is done independently or with a student by himself only. We also have competitive activities where students will test their competencies against another in a healthy manner of it's like a healthy challenge with each other. We also have the use of various delivery modes. So when we say delivery modes, this is how we deliver the learning to provide learning experiences since each learner differs from one another. So we should be wary of this. Now, when we come to assessment and evaluation, learning occurs most effectively when students receive feedback, i.e. when they receive information on what they have already and have not learned. So this is an important part since learners, they should know, they should be given feedback. What they did correct, what they did correct and what they can improve on. So this is very important. Now, that actually is the end of lesson 1. I hope you guys understood and I thank you again for your time. However, I may need to ask, do you have any questions for me before I give the floor to my next colleague who will be the next speaker? Any questions, please?
Yes, I have one question.
Yes?
What if the intended outcome of the teacher didn't achieve? Does it mean the curriculum design is not effective?
Okay, thank you for that wonderful question. Actually, it doesn't mean that it is not effective. It may only mean that some parts of the curriculum is not working. So again, this would be evaluated, or this should be evaluated properly for us to know which part of the curriculum is no longer working and that needs to be changed. It doesn't mean that the desired outcome was not achieved, that it was a failure, that the curriculum the curriculum created was a failure. So it doesn't mean that. Okay? Thank you for that. Other questions?
Yes, I have another question.
Yes.
And my question is, what are the factors that are being considered in crafting the curriculum?
Okay, thank you for that. Yes, if I heard it correctly, you were asking about the factors that should be considered when crafting a curriculum. Again, we may need to go back to the actions. We must first put in our mind the desired outcomes. What do we need to accomplish? What do we want to accomplish? So that's the first one. Now, what are the needs that we need to cater with or to cater to? The needs of the students, the needs of the teachers, the needs of the administration, and the current learning standards. So those are just some of the factors. Actually, there are a lot of factors, but I think those are the most important ones. What outcome do we plan to achieve, and what are the needs we need to cater to? Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions? Okay, if there is none, again, I thank you for your time. My name is Frank. I'll be giving the floor to Miss Christine Joyaga. Thank you so much.
That was very informative, but we've just begun. Our next speaker is also a current third-year English major from PKM and loves dancing and sports. He competed across the region in badminton several times and won quite a lot of them. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our next speaker, Zam Villegas.
Thank you, Ms. Christine. And for the lesson 2 that entitled Approaches to Curriculum Designing, please next. The, we have the types of curriculum design models. Subject-centered design. This design was mostly used by the textbook because textbooks are usually written based on specific subject or course. And for the subject-centered design, we have the part of the subject design alone, this is the oldest and most familiar design for teachers and parents or other laymen. Next, we have also the discipline design. This discipline design is related to subject design. Discipline refers to specific knowledge learned through a method which the scholar used to study a specific content of their field. Discipline design use as a curriculum, they use a specific or a focus subject that they will be learned. We have also the correlation design. Correlated curriculum design links separate subject designs in order to reduce fragmentation. Subjects are related to one another, answers still maintain their identity. In correlation design, the subjects may be connected to each other, but the answers will be different. They have their own identity. Also, we have the broad field design or interdisciplinary. This design was made to secure the compartmentalization of the separate subjects and integrate the contents that are related to one another. In broad field design, they separated the subjects or the content to one another. Okay. Next, from the types of the curriculum design, we have also the learner-centered design. Among the progressive educational psychologies, the learner is the center of the educative process. This emphasis is very strong in the elementary level. However, more concern has been placed on the secondary and even the tertiary levels. Learner-centered design, from what I have read, it emphasizes the learner. The learner is the center of educational process. Next. And next, from the part of the learner-centered design, we have the child-centered design. This curriculum design is anchored on the needs and interests of the child. It only focuses the child's interest. Also, we have experience-centered design. The learners are empowered to shape their own learning from the different opportunities given by the teacher. In this experience-centered design, the teacher gives the students an activities or physical activities that the learners or the students will experience physically, and they will learn from it. Next, the humanistic design. In humanistic curriculum design, the development of self is the ultimate objective of learning. In this design, in this curriculum, the self-development is the focuses on this curriculum. Also, we have the problem-centered design from the types of the curriculum design. In this curriculum, content cuts across subject boundaries and must be based on the needs, concerns, and abilities of the student. In this curriculum, in this design, it focuses the problem of the students of what they need, the concerns and other concerns. We have the life situation design. It uses the past and the present experiences of learners as a means to analyze the basic areas of living. The teacher used the past and present experiences of the students for them to analyze the basic areas of living. So, we have the core problem design. It centers on general education and the problems are based on the common human activities. This curriculum design is more on general education. It's more on the learner activities, the educational program. Next, we have the child or learner-centered approach. Okay. This approach to curriculum design is based on the underlying philosophy that the child or the learner is the center of the educational process. It's like what I have said in the design, it's types of the curriculum design. That learner-centered, in the learner-centered design, it means that the child or the learner is the main center or the target, the focus on the educational process. We have also the approaches to curriculum design. From that, we have principles of child-centered curriculum approach. First, we have acknowledge and respect the fundamental rights of the child. To make all activities revolve around the overall development of the learner. But we consider the uniqueness of every learner in a multicultural classroom. Fourth, consider using differentiated instruction or teaching. And lastly, provide a motivating, supportive learning environment for all the learners. These principles are all included in the child-centered curriculum approach. We also have the subject-centered approach. This approach considers the following principles. First, the primary focus in the subject matter. Of course, subject-centered approach, we focus on subject matter. Second, the emphasis is on bits and pieces of information which we detach from file. Third, the subject matter serves as a means of identifying problems of living. Fourth, learning means accumulation of content or knowledge. And lastly, teacher's role is to again, this teacher's role is to dispense the content. These principles are all included in the subject introduction. And that was my before I let my colleague or my co-speaker any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. My question is, why should students be involved in designing the curriculum?
Just thank you for that question, Erwin. As I said earlier for my discussion, we have the learner-centered approach, which is the child or the student is the center or the focus on the educational process. That's why the student should be included in the curriculum design, in designing a curriculum. Any questions?
Yes, I have another question. What are the things that you should bear in mind in designing a curriculum?
I think first, for me, the only first that you have to bear in your mind is to know what is your target. Because when you know your target, who is your target, what is your target, you can make or you can do the curriculum design that will be good or related to your target, to your curriculum design. Any questions? If that's all, thank you. And to the next speaker.
Wow, who knew that curriculum crafting was this beneficial and important to teacher and students alike? Now, last but not the least, our next speaker hails from Sampaloc, Quezon. And he's also a third-year English major student from PKM. He loves reading and poetry and literature in general. Let us all welcome our last speaker, Mr. Raymond Obmerga.
Well, thank you for the warm introduction, Miss Castro. So, I will be our lesson will be focused on curriculum mapping. Next. So, first, what is curriculum mapping? Curriculum mapping is a process or procedure that follows curriculum designing. It is done before curriculum implementation or the operationalization of the written curriculum. So, and other is curriculum maps are visual timelines that outline desired learning outcomes to be achieved, contents, skills, and values taught, instructional time, assessment to be used, and the overall student movement towards the attainment of the intended outcomes. Next. So, here are the two examples of curriculum maps. So the sample A will focus on the basic education, and the sample B will be focused on the college level. So the example A excerpt from the Ed curriculum guide for Science 3 shows sample of a map for quarter 1 and 2. A column for code was not included. So as you can see in our screen, it shows that there's the it is one what we call curriculum maps. So there's the content that we need to be focused on as we are teaching. Next. So So as you can see, okay. So the next. So in this part, it shows that um the curriculum map the sequence that shows the sequence of what to be taught yearly. As you can see, from grade 1, in the first quarter of grade 1 to grade 7, it focuses on matter. While in grade and it changed from grade 8, grade 9, and grade 10. As at this at this can be shown in our presentation. Next. So, and this is the sample B, the curriculum guide for the college level. So there are some legends like P, L, O, and PO1, PO2, and until PO8. So the legend represents stands for learned outcomes. So there will it outcomes are the goals that achieve in the subject. So is the practice, the learned outcomes, and the O is the opportunity to learn and practice. So here are some notes or reminders for making curriculum map. So not all professional subjects are entered in the matrix. Desired outcomes for the professional courses are so PO1 stands for applied basic and higher 21st century skills. So it focuses on the 4 C's. So which is the critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. So the PO2 acquired deep understanding of the learning process. So and the PO3 comprehend knowledge of the content they will teach. So PO4 applied teaching process skills. So it focuses on curriculum designing, materials development, educational assessment, and teaching approaches. So it focuses are on the teaching strategies. So PO5 facilitated learning of different types of learning in diverse learning environments. So in PO5, it focuses on how the different culture, different religion, how you handle those different kinds of people, students in a one classroom. Next. So PO6 directed experience in the field and classroom. So PO6 focuses on the experiences of a teacher and students. So demonstrated professional and ethical standards of the profession. So that is for the PO7. And the PO8 for the last is demonstrated creative and innovative thinking and practice of alternative teaching approaches. Next. So, before I pass the focus to our host, is there any questions regarding to my lesson?
Yes. What if we didn't follow the curriculum process? What will be the possible result?
Thank you for your question, Miss Pascual. So, if the curriculum mapping is not followed, the written curriculum will quickly fall into disuse or never to be revisited. So, because curriculum mapping allows teachers and administrators to focus on balance between the content across the curricula. So, is there any questions?
Yes, I have another question. And what are the importance of having a curriculum map?
So, thank you for your question, Miss Dolendo. So So the importance of the curriculum map is to show the proper alignment of the program goals, course objectives, instructional support materials, formative assessment activities, summative assessment, and finally the instructional plan. So um is there any questions? I think there's no question. So thank you for listening for lesson 3. So Miss Christie.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Raymond, and thank you to our audiences who participated greatly with their questions and their observations. Thank you to our resource speakers, Mr. Franco Marang, uh, Zam, and Mr. Raymond. Once again, this is the webinar for crafting the curriculum, and we thank you all for your time, and we'll see you on the next one.